Hi everyone, it's Rax. Blizzard released the patch notes for the Season 5 PTR, and there are pages and pages and pages and pages of it, but I have condensed it all down into a single page on my other monitor here. So I'm going to go through and tell you kind of some cool things that I'm seeing for it and how I think it's going to impact the different classes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Necromancers and we are going to look at their legendary aspects. So the aspect of Unholy Tether Mobility. Casting a golem's active skill creates a bond with you for 6 seconds. While that bond is active, both of you are unhindered and you get 40% movement speed. 40% movement speed on a Necro is completely unheard of, and they're making a lot of changes like that to give Necros more mobility. You're seeing it here as well. Sever now dashes you forward to attack instead. It becomes a mobility skill. It costs no essence, and it can get down to a 7-second cooldown, which is absolutely incredible. So let's jump down here to Rogue, and the Necros are going to be flying. So the thing about Rogue is you're going to get 50% movement speed after you use a healing potion, and after you move 30 meters, you're going to spawn more healing potions. You're going to see this as a recurring theme. You're going to continue to see potions. So rogues are going to keep drinking these all the time to get a lot of buffs in the next season. Another thing that they've done is they have increased Flurry. You're going to see down in the actual patch notes for the rogue class that Flurry is getting a hell of a lot better. So we go to Sorcerers. Axial Conduit, the unique pants. This is probably the most interesting thing that people are talking about. Chain Lightning alternates between orbiting you and seeking out 3 enemies. It's going to return, drain 6 mana from you for each active Chain Lightning, and after draining 66 of your mana, it's going to explode for lightning damage, and it's going to expire if you don't have enough mana for it to drain. So what this is going to do is it's going to require us to stack resource generation. Not resource cost reduction. We want it to go out and drain our mana, but we need our mana to be constantly replenished so we have a mana pool for it to be drained. I clarified this. I talked to the devs about exactly how it works, about if it actually has to drain 66 total mana or if it just has to orbit us 11 times. It is the actual mana drain. So we'll make a planner. We'll figure out exactly the best ways to do it. They also made some changes later on that are going to help you with your mana regeneration. I believe not only is it with legendary aspects, but it's also, I think, with some of the Paragon stuff. And so we're going to be doing everything we can to generate mana back to full instantly. And of course, the mana per second rolls on our gear in order to make this build work. So it's going to be kind of like ball lightning, but also with it shooting out lightning everywhere. And there's going to be an amazing change to Veer's Mastery later as well. So I think the Sorcerers are going to have this incredible AoE explosions, and also they can also take the Fireball enchant with it. So it's probably going to be leveling up as Chain Lightning next season, especially if you can get these pants early. It's probably going to be one of the most fun things out there. Again, with some of the target farming that we have in Helltide, maybe we will be able to get these pants pretty quickly. Okay, and then the rest of this is kind of whatever. Let's go to Barbs. So one thing about Barbs is the Grasping Whirlwind power now is going to pull in targets 3 times as often. Well, this is important because Whirlwind is now viable, and the fact that this Grasping Whirlwind hardly ever grabs the enemies is pretty annoying. So I was actually just about ready to go into the Discord there, the partner Discord, and just complain about how this needs a massive buff. Blizzard is already on top of it. They already did that. So on top of it, for the Gore's Devastating Grips, which this used to be the best item in the game on Diablo 4 day 1, it was so overpowered that they emergency hotfixed it, and it's never been the same since. Well, they've been buffing it, trying to restore some of its former glory, and the explosion size is now affected by whirlwind size, which is good, but this also raises a question where I don't believe that the pulverized temper with the pulverized size works with the pulverized shockwave power, which is the entire reason to play pulverize, and they just got done fixing pulverize. So I'm going to check to make sure that that's actually true, And I'm going to go into the Discord again and complain and see if we can get that to work for the pulverized shockwave. If they're going to do it for Gores, then I don't know why they wouldn't do it for the pulverized shockwave power. We'll see if we can get that done. So let's go to Druids. So the first thing to understand, let's scroll down here for a moment, is that they nerfed the Shepherd's power. Now, Shepherd used to be super overpowered. You used to get 20% damage for every companion that you have. Okay, well, this is so crazy good. Of course, you just take your core skill and take every single companion possible to buff your core skill. It was like a mandatory legendary power, and it's just I'm trying to think of a nicer way to say this. It's not coming. It's just bad design, right? So they know that, so they got rid of it. Now it buffs your companions, which is good news for companion druid, but then that nerfs everything about druids. Well, they said to compensate, they would just go through and just buff all the skills and just give you all the power inherently, which if that's true, well, if it's roughly the same, then they would just be giving us a free legendary power, and that's pretty much what they did. When you go through everything, you're going to see Landslide goes from 37 to 70, Shred is getting a massive increase. This I don't know what this means because Pulverize already got a big buff and the damage is not 50% right now, so I don't know what this means. Tornado got buff, Lightning Storm, Hurricane. Now we're going to do maybe 30 plus damage with Hurricane. And now you can summon your companions without having to stop to cast them, which is really nice. So it looks like Blizzard kind of made good on that. So you should get a lot of the buffs that you were missing before with the power. Some of them, it's buffing Companion Druid. Companion Druid's a little bit easier to play. I'd consider that a win. Okay, so now let's go to Necros. Now there's a lot of stuff here for Necros. A lot of stuff was buffed. I just want to talk to you about the top stuff right here. So Necromancer minions can now overpower. Okay. As if minions weren't strong enough. Now they can overpower. I mean, what's next? We're going to give them a lucky hit chance as well. Necros, this could have some big implications, actually. And this could make Minion Necro a lot stronger. But this is the thing that I have been begging for since the dawn of time in almost every ARPG. The minions are now more aggressive and will automatically engage nearby enemies. I am so sick of walking in front of my minions and they're just behind me, and then they kind of catch up, and then they kind of start fighting. Maybe you don't feel like the commander of the undead, you feel like a babysitter. And, I've said this before on many videos. I've said it 1,000 times in the live stream. I've talked with Blizzard about it. I think I talked with Adam Jackson about it briefly, and he kind of agreed. I said, guys, I'll take a huge damage reduction, or like a minion damage going down, if you would just make them way smarter. Please help me here. And we don't even need a damage reduction. Actually, we got a damage increase. They can now overpower. They're just more aggressive, and they automatically engage enemies. They showed off some of this with the Golem active ability. If it's far behind, it's just going to leap forward and start attacking. The footage that they showed of this looked really good. So we're going to find out on Tuesday. But you bet your ass I'm going to go in there with our Necromins. I want to see how aggressive they really are. And if they are really aggressive, maybe we go check out the Druid summons as well and see if we can give them the same treatment. Or maybe they already have it, but it wasn't in the patch notes. This, I'll take this line over anything else for Necros. They buffed some other things. They buffed a Sever. They buffed Blight. They buffed Dead Bloodwave. They nerfed Shadow Blight, but they put some of the damage somewhere else because too much of the damage was coming from Shadow Blight, so I agree with that, among some other things. Okay, now Rogues actually got a lot of things. So the first thing is Flurry. And Flurry is now going to have the ability to dash you to the target, which is going to be pretty incredible. Where is that? It's down here. But here's the crazy thing. You can take Improved Flurry to heal you for 10% of your maximum life. So am I reading this right? So every time I cast Flurry, it's going to heal me for 10% of my maximum life? So, I mean, if I like, especially if a rogue has like a Doombringer or something, right? That's like the super life unique. I mean, I don't. How are you gonna die? I mean, they're gonna have to one shot you. If you just stack attack speed, isn't this gonna be crazy? I mean, I don't know. Even if it was like 2% of your maximum life, that seems like it would be very strong. But when you're doing those Uber bosses or any challenging content, this is looking pretty incredible to me. So they are buffing Dark Shroud. They're going to give you the movement speed for free on Enhanced Dark Shroud right here. It used to be on Subverting. So now you can get an extra buff with like heal 10% of your maximum life when a Dark Shroud is assumed, or you can get some critical strike chance. Actually, they're just upgrading this one. So that's going to be a Dark Shroud buff. Another cutie patootie thing that I saw is Enhanced Poison Imbuement now generates 30 energy. So that's going to help with sustain a lot, because you used to take Shadow Imbue, I believe, with Consuming Shadows was the main way to keep your energy up. But Consuming Shadows, I don't believe, works with Poison Imbuement. So this must be the counter to that. Which, man, if I'm thinking about all this correctly, I wish I would have had this a long time ago, especially fighting Uber Lilith when she was like a 10-minute fight. So they have one of the passives down here, Concussive. Here we go. We're seeing the strategy again. Using a healing potion, stuns surrounding enemies for 2 seconds and increases your damage by 6% for 5 seconds. Again, we're seeing the synergy here of the potions. There is another potion thing where when you drink it, it grants you a free Dark Shroud. So let's see if we can find that. It's somewhere here. Scroll here for a moment. Okay, I'm not quite sure where it is. It's somewhere here. Drinking a potion is also going to give you a free Dark Shroud. So there's another potion synergy. Anyway, moving on here. Momentum. This now is, there's a lot of text here. So the main thing is casting a non-cutthroat skill is going to remove momentum. Casting a cutthroat skill gains you momentum. So you want to be spamming cutthroat as much as you can. For each stack of momentum, you get 3% DR, 3% maximum energy, 3% energy regeneration, 3% movement speed, up to 30%. That's much higher magnitude than these buffs before. So as long as you're spamming, you should be getting some massive buffs from momentum. Sounds amazing. Oh, here's the potion with the free Dark Shroud. Sorry, I had it in the wrong order. Here it is. Enshrouding Aspect, it's going to give you a free Dark Shroud. So you're going to be drinking healing potions all the time. And then the other thing that was pretty cute here is, I think it was in the Paragon, Exploit Weakness is now going to give you a Mass Execute. So let's see if we can find that here. Lucky Hit. Direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has a 45% chance to increase your damage by 1% for 25 up to 50. When you reach 50, this bonus resets and you execute all nearby non-boss enemies. So I guess we'll have to see what a boss enemy counts as, but this might happen where, I don't know, you're doing the pit level, I don't know, maybe they balance the pit a little more and clearing the actual dungeon of the pit is a little bit more important than it is now. Maybe you go into a big pack of a ton of elites and just keep attacking, and the second that it triggers, I mean, I don't think elites are bosses, are they? And they just all die if you just stack Lucky Hit. So maybe you go in there with your Flurry Rogue and you stack Lucky Hit, and you're draining 10% of your life on every hit. They can't kill you, and you just wait for the Mass Execute. I mean, is that, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it sounds like this is just going to be a room-wide execute for anything that isn't a boss. So rogues have a lot of bullet points here, a lot of interesting synergies, and they might be on their way back here. So let's go to the Sorcerer. Sorcerer, it's got some kind of weird things. So they're buffing Crackling Energy. And then some weird things are happening with Blizzard. So, and what I mean, Blizzard, the actual skill. So Blizzard right now doesn't do any damage. The way that Blizzard sorcerers work is they summon ice spikes and the ice spikes do all the damage. So this increase and this increase is like insignificant. It just, unless I'm missing something, Blizzard doesn't do any damage, so this isn't going to do anything. So if we go down here for a moment and we look at some of their other changes with Blizzard for a second. Let me find it here. So you take Aspect of the Frozen Tundra, because Aspect of the Frozen Tundra, I believe, increases the ice spike explosion radius. But we don't take Deep Freeze, and we don't take it for its ice spikes. So I guess they're trying to make it viable. But we take this aspect anyway without Deep Freeze to buff ice spikes. Glacial was what made the Blizzard power work. And what they did was they swapped the 15% damage that was on Glacial, and they swapped it for 15 chill and put the 15 damage on Frozen Wake, which is the ice spike damage from ice armor. Now, so what does all of this mean? I think the Blizzard buff... Okay, let me step back for 1 second. These changes are logical. They're trying to change the way that Blizzard works because Blizzard itself doesn't do any damage, and there's weird mechanics about how the ice spike does all the damage and the different ways that you make that work. So these changes are trying to reverse that and make it a little bit more normal. I don't think this is going to accomplish it, though. The buffs to Blizzard are way too low, and they are taking away one of our best multipliers, and they're putting it on a power that we don't take. So now if we want this extra damage to ice spikes, and the ice spikes damage is a separate sentence at the end of the power talking about ice armor. So this should actually give us this power, if I'm reading it right, if we add it into our build. But now we've lost an aspect, and the only thing that we've gained is this ice spike from frozen armor, which, I don't know, or ice armor might be decent, and 15% extra chill. I'm not sure if this is going to be worth it. And I still don't know if we're going to put Deep Freeze on our bars, even with this increase. So I have a feeling, I'm sure North War is going to do all the calculations, but I got to be honest, when I'm reading all these changes, even though logically, conceptually, this is moving the pieces potentially in the right places, I think the magnitudes here are off. I'd love to be wrong, but we'll see. So what else can we talk about here? They changed Chain Lightning and they changed Veers. So they had to change Chain Lightning because now it's going to bounce all the time. So now it's going to get 10% increased damage, capped to 30. It used to be 5 for its duration. It shouldn't be too bad. They had it changed anyway for how the new Chain Lightning works. One thing that I'm super excited for is the new Veers Mastery. When you critically strike an enemy with a shock skill, you become charged and you take 25% less damage for 5 seconds. Okay, wait, 25% DR. This is huge. You used to be able to get 25% DR, but only from close enemies, which makes no sense because sorcerers aren't supposed to face tank stuff, even though we'll probably be face tanking stuff next season because of how the Chain Lightning works with the orbiting. But I would way rather have 25% DR to anything. I consider this a significant buff. But while charged, critical strikes have a 10% chance to cause the damage to arc as lightning damage to another enemy, or if there are no other targets, you hit the target again for 250% of the damage. So this is what I was talking about before. The damage is going to be arcing to another enemy. Could be a potentially massive increase for like single target damage if it hits the target again. The Chain Lightnings on the new power also move around and explode. It has the smart targeting now with how they're going to automatically target the crowd-controlled enemies. I'm not sure if we talked about that earlier, but they automatically are going to try to target crowd-controlled enemies, which is also going to raise your damage. And then on top of it, for leveling your speed farming, you can also take the Fireball enchant. So sorcerers should be able next season, if it's theory crafted correctly, which is what I'm going to be doing tomorrow on stream, is theory crafting Chain Lightning Sorcerer, should be able to delete everything in sight. It should be one of the most fun builds ever. It should be more fun than Ball Lightning, because Ball Lightning was only close damage with nowhere near as many explosions. I mean, the other changes are kind of whatever, but this, along with the other Chain Lightning stuff, is good. I'm just really, really confused about this, about some of their choices with the Blizzard stuff here. Another thing is Flame Shield is no longer permanent because the cooldown starts at the end. By the way, one weird thing I forgot to mention for Druids is they made Grizzly Rage start at the end of its cooldown, but Grizzly Rage is an ultimate which you are trying to keep up all the time. I get that Blizzard is trying to stop you from getting these really weird things like Infinite Flame Shield, but I do not think they should have applied it to Grizzly Rage. That's like, again, nerfing Druids for no reason. I think you apply this rule on skills where it makes sense. And I don't think why do that? Okay, you have perma Grizzly Rage. You're chasing perma Grizzly Rage. Who cares? Like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to be a bear. So, I really don't agree with that one, if I'm being honest. So, I'm going to encourage them to revert that or explain to me why. Why does that have that there? Anyway, a couple last miscellaneous changes for the user interface. Shift clicking a skill adds 5 points or the maximum amount in the skill tree. Okay, I gotta build that muscle memory in my mind. It's gonna make us a little bit faster. Sometimes it's the little things that count. So look at this one. World bosses are now more resilient to damage. Okay. Well, they certainly aren't hard right now. So maybe they're actually, I mean, honestly, if they were more resilient to damage, I think it would be more fun. It's not, you don't even do anything. You go there and someone one-shots them and you pick up loot. It's so boring. Like, I would prefer that you make them way harder, an actual, like, multiple minute fight. You got to use some teamwork and buff the rewards. I mean, it has a huge timer on it anyway. I mean, make it fun. Potions can now be used while crowd controlled. That's pretty good. Various dungeons have had tweaks to their layouts to further streamline them. I have to think that part of this has to be because of me, because I am messaging Blizzard all the time, complaining about backtracking and this or that. Look at this dungeon. I went here. Look at this diagram. This sucks. So I already know a couple of ones. I already have them in my mind, and I will know when I walk into them. So hopefully we got rid of a lot of the stupid ass backtracking. And then they're adding a bunch of weapon types. If you didn't see that in the campfire video, they are going to let druids use polearms, one-handed swords and daggers. Necromancers can use maces and axes. Sorcerers can use one-handed swords. That means they get Doombringer. It also means that they could get Azure Wrath, but Doombringer, you want your sorcerer to not die. Now that your flame shield is gone, this might be the way. Okay, well, that's what I had. That was me trying to go through, I don't know how many pages, 30 plus pages of patch notes and try to condense it into a shorter video. This is how I think it's going to impact the different classes, some of the things that really interested me. What looks good to you in Season 5? What are you going to play? Do you like the patch? How do you feel about it? In general, I think Blizzard is doing a lot of good things. There's a couple of head scratchers here, but another thing that I'll give Blizzard credit on is they've been very, very good at listening to community feedback. And honestly, their communication has been a lot better. So I actually feel much more now than I ever did before. If I actually send Blizzard a message with some concerns, I think they'll listen. And probably part of the reason is it's probably hard to listen in the past when, a lot of things are going wrong with your game. But since they're getting more things aligned and since the game is going a little bit better, it's probably easier to listen now that they don't have that big weight on their shoulders. Anyway, I'm just speculating. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll be live streaming and theory crafting this Chain Lightning Sorcerer. God, I want to figure this stuff out. Thank you.